Oh, I'm really excited about this one. In today's podcast, I'm here with Kalo Yankulov. He's had two SaaS exits, he's made millions in the space. And I'm Aleksandar Velev. I've generated over 50 million in sales pipeline for dozens of different B2B companies. And in today's podcast, we talk about go-to-market strategies, sales, and we give exact use cases of AI for B2B companies to generate more revenue. So this is the podcast for you. How you had two exits in SaaS, how you made 1 million in a couple of days from Appsumo.
So much hype going on around agents and people making millions of revenue in 20 minutes. I think everything's like every single day, it's like the statements are just more, the claims are getting crazier.
Leave one piece of advice for the people that are scaling a SaaS company at the moment. What would you say as somebody who's had two successful exits, has made lots of money in the space? What would be your number one advice?
Yeah, number one advice for scaling.
All of the software in the future is just going to have a chat box and people can type in what they want. Now, this sounds good, right? But I think people are largely incompetent. Like the final prompt for our best message took me like probably over 50 hours to make one prompt. But I'm sending hundreds of thousands of messages without one prompt. How can a guy with no experience in doing the thing without AI teach AI how to do it? I just want us to talk about it because I'm so fascinated by VibeCoding. Hey Kalo, nice to have you here today. We actually met like a month ago at a startup event, me and you. One of my friends just pointed at me. I was walking by. He just pointed, Aleksandar, you need to talk to this guy. And I was really impressed by your story, and I'm glad to have you here today to tell everybody about how you had two exits in SaaS, how you made 1 million in a couple of days from Appsumo. And I think you're a really cool guy overall. So this is a great podcast for everybody.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. And excited to be with you.
You recently sold your last SaaS company, Encharge, right?
That's correct.
Can you tell the people a little bit more about your experience, what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I've been in SaaS marketing and the SaaS space for the last about 7 or 8 years, I believe. So I've done a lot of agency work, like productized services, marketplaces before that, but my passion always have been building products. So I graduated in digital design. I worked in a bit for a marketing agency in London, so that was my dream back in the days. Worked for one of the big marketing agency, do some design work for them. And they destroyed my dream pretty quickly. They gave me like huge spreadsheets, like probably like, I don't know, thousands of lines of rows of spreadsheets to just do. And that was before AI, that was before having like CMS platforms for, well, there was still CMS platforms for email marketing, but in the enterprise space, it was very manual. So they made me do a lot of like manual work, just cross-matching sales and making changes. And I was like, screw that. I'm going back home and I'm going to do my own stuff and work on my own businesses. So that's when I started experimenting with different types of products, services. So the last one we launched was Encharge in 2019. Me and my co-founder, completely bootstrap. We reached around $400,000-$500,000 annual recurring revenue. And then last year, there was one of our customers who's also an M&A, so mergers and acquisition holding company. They acquire small businesses, small SaaS companies, reached out to us, asked us if we're selling, and we were like, okay, maybe we are. Give us an offer. They gave us a offer that we were happy with, and we sold the business. So right now I'm kind of starting from zero again. So it's interesting to go through the 0 to 1 journey again, and also very challenging and different compared to what have been what the space has been in the last like 5 years ago.
Yes.
So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Like you started from a design background, but then you somehow moved into SaaS. Like how did that happen?
Yeah, so I always wanted to build websites and products, and that was the natural, if you like, the natural skill to have if you're either like a developer or a designer, if you're a builder. So some people are both, but very rarely, because it's one is the left-hand sided brain, the other one is the right-hand sided brain. But for me, I was more creative, and it was interesting for me to see things to like go live, and then things that look beautiful, the things that people want to use, that are easy to use. So I was really passionate about the whole UI UX thing. And at some point I was like, okay, I mean, it's cool to do some work for clients, it's cool to do work for clients, but it's not my thing. I want to build my own product. And then I found a co-founder, or different founders throughout my journey. But at one point was, okay, so we have a product, now we have to sell it. And that's how I transitioned into marketing and sales. So right now I kind of consider myself like almost a full stack co-founder, if you will. So I do a lot of design work. I can build a product, but I can also sell the product. I've also done a bit of development, mostly like front end, just enough to get like landing pages and stuff live. I've been dabbling a bit with VibeCoding now. Not very successful, to be honest.
What are you
Uh,
using? Like what code cursor or like
uh,
logo?
I've used a bit Cloud Code and a bunch of the vibe coding tools like Replit. Is the one I've experimented with. Um, but yeah, yeah. You just need to do whatever it takes to get the job done and get the first customers. So that's how I transition.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because uh, I didn't really start in design, but I started in like more so copywriting, writing long form VSLs, like D2C type of stuff, e-commerce. Then transitioned more into uh, sales, VSLs, just a bunch of different kinds of services. And now, as I'm building my SaaS company, as I talked to you about, I'm also getting into design, into vibe coding, all of that. So I really resonate with the whole full stack founder. It's the first time I heard it, and it's a pretty cool idea. And for the vibe coding, I've been doing it a lot because I had a co-founder, and now I don't really have a co-founder. He was the technical person. I was more of the idea, sales, marketing, that sort of stuff. Uh, I just want us to talk about it because I'm so fascinated by vibe coding. And not so much vibe coding. I think vibe coding and AI coding are slightly different, right?
Right.
And I've been, just in terms of tools, I've tried Quad Code, I've tried Cursor, Lovable, all of those things. And I would say Lovable is really great for websites and similar stuff. But then if you want to actually develop a SaaS company, you cannot really use Lovable. Like, I don't think anybody's doing that. They're using it for websites.
Right.
And yeah, I think those tools are really amazing in terms of allowing you to actually, especially the front end, when you're building a SaaS platform from scratch, just putting something out there, especially the front end. That's the best use case that I see for vibe coding right now, because the back end and doing all of those things, if you've never done any software development before, I don't really think it's possible for you to do it unless you actually put in the work, you learn those things, and it's not something that you can just, you cannot make an API for your app if you tell Cursor, make me an API. So how have you been using it? What's your experience been like?
Just to ask you a question, you have a background in development, right? You mentioned that.
I studied it in school, so it's really helpful, but I never, like, I'm not good at it. But I understand all of the concepts and it's
Right.
really helpful. Like, I studied it for 4 years. So I know my way around it. If I didn't have this experience, like, I give it to my girlfriend, for example. She has many crazy ideas. She's
Right.
in the medical field. So she's building her own kind of stuff. She's just trying it, but people are clueless if they've never developed anything. Like, why is this button over here, for example? Well, as you know, in web development, there's different containers. It's in the wrong one. You don't describe it well enough. So even recently, like, I've been spending lots of time learning about software architecture, some of these more complex topics, just so I can know about it and I'm like actually able to use those tools, not just tell them, make me this. Right. So I think it's really a skill issue when people cannot use them. Right. If you have the skill set, then you can probably describe it well enough, break it into smaller parts, and skip the process of manually writing things.
Right. Yeah. So I think vibe coding at the stage we are at right now is, as you said, great for, at least based on my personal experience, it's great for developers. It's great for people that maybe even like front-end developers. But if you're just like completely clueless on the technical side, it's very easy to just reach a roadblock and have no other options than just close the app or whatever you're using. And at least that's at least that's what I've experienced a couple of times. So with Replit, I tried to build an app like an infographic generator. So it's very simple. And it generated the UI, as you said, is good for your front end landing pages. It will definitely pretty. I mean, it won't be as close as it won't be the exact thing that you want or as close, like 100% close to your design, but it will be, let's say, depending on how much time you spend, you can either just give it some prompts and just have the idea, or you can use, there's like different types of plugins that can try to emulate your design, and you'll probably get 50, 60, 70% close, something like that. But there's just things that you don't know that you don't know. So with that infographic thing, I just didn't manage to get it to create a good infographic. And I experimented with different models. So there's things that you need. There's a lot of back and forth, and if you're purely limited to prompting, it's just very easy to hit that roadblock, because the only thing you can do in that case is just open the developer's console and then copy paste the error. Either that or just try to convince it to do it in another better way. But if it doesn't, then there's nothing you can do. A developer can actually go into the code, can figure out why something doesn't work, can understand the error messages, and for a developer, it's like, for them, it's way easier and faster, and it's like incrementally not incrementally, but radically faster than for a someone that doesn't have any development knowledge. My second experience was quite similar. So one of my developer friends, he showed me around how to use Cloud Code, and he was super hyped. You can build everything you want. You can build like your whole SaaS with VibeCoding. And we did like a screen share, and he was hand holding me through the exact process of how to do it, how to set up Cloud Code, then how to do the basic stuff like authentication, things like that. And at one point was like, he said like, okay, so I now understand like what is to build to use that as a non-technical person, and it has nothing to do with my experience because I don't see all of the things that I know. There's just an unconscious level. Someone who's been coding for ages, they don't see the things that a non-technical
Yes.
person doesn't understand. And it was like every single, like at almost every single step of that process we tried, there was something that only he knew how to move forward with. It wasn't like a vibe coding thing, like just prompting didn't work. There was actually, okay, so we have to go to the API docs, choose this specific API doc, copy the document, and there was no coding, right? But there was still like the right things to do to get it to that point. So that was my experience, fairly limited. I'm still willing, I'm still open to experiment more and give it another try. But based on my experience, I wouldn't use it for anything more than just landing pages or like very basic, like either just front end or just very basic apps. If I want to do a SaaS, I just find a co-founder. I want to build a SaaS with VibeCoding. But I know some people have done very successful, like commercially at least. Not, I'm not sure if technologically, but at least commercially, have done very successful with Vibe tools. And there's case studies on Lovable, people doing like millions of revenue. But then if you look at the websites, there's still more of like not static websites, but more of like information-based websites. So it's still more on the front end. There's not a whole lot API connections, custom work, stuff going on in the backend. At least what I've seen. I might be wrong.
At the end of the day, what we're talking about is that, of course, these models are going to improve. I think the biggest bottleneck really is the speed. Imagine if you can iterate on a landing page instantaneously instead of having to wait for it. Then the development speed would go up by a lot. But the real bottleneck, I think, at this point, the models are really good, especially if you know what you're doing. The bottleneck is the human. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know how to describe it. You want to build a SaaS, but how do these features actually work? You can describe them on a high level, but can you describe them technically, right? With all of the different edge cases and stuff. So the real bottleneck is the human, and this is in vibe coding, but I think this translates really well to AI in other softwares and the way people try to make them nowadays. And what specifically I'm talking about is this trend where people believe that all of the software in the future is just going to have a chat box and people can type in what they want. Now, this sounds good, right? But I think people are largely incompetent. Like, what do I type in there? So I think the real future would be just giving to the people, like doing the thinking for them, and AI can do that based on their data. So just giving them what they actually need. And if we take this, let's take this to sales tools or marketing tools, go-to-market tools, because we both have experience in that. Imagine somebody needs to vibe code the entire strategy. Well, what if their perspective on their ICP is completely wrong, right? Then you're building an entire strategy. Let's say there's some tool to build a go-to-market strategy, then send an outbound campaign. There's already tools like that. Instantly.ai have a tool. I don't know if you heard about it. There's some other ones. But if you don't know what you're doing, and the first time in your life that you're launching a outbound campaign is A to Z with AI, like I just don't see that working out. And I don't see you actually understanding your target market. I don't see you understanding the problem that you're solving. The technical part of getting the leads, sending the message to them, okay, you can automate that. But how are you coming up with the whole strategy? If you don't feed anything into the AI, right? If instantly, let's say they have a connection to your CRM, they can look at all of the call recordings, how the pipeline moves, what people say, what's their tech stack, etc. you can build a really great campaign based on that, right? But if you just prompted, I have this kind of software, make me an outbound campaign, I don't really think it's gonna work. So what's your view on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it has always been the case, even before AI. There were other tools like Zapier automation. So there's always a hyped movement, and the whole like westernized type of sales where you need to be like the magical silver bullet, which currently is AI. So there's always that part of the process. And certainly to a degree, it helps a lot, but the fundamentals have been always there. The fundamentals always need to be there. As you said, understanding the customer, the ICP, um, understanding the problem, just having a solution for the right person at the right time that they're looking for. This like the tech is only there to accelerate what you're like the fundamentals. So if your fundamentals are wrong, then you just accelerate the wrong thing. The AI will probably be able to send more emails, more LinkedIn messages, whatever, but the response rate would be horrendous. Um, that being said, I've seen people that there's like in outbound, um, and then you can tell me more about your experience because you're much more experienced there. But from what I've seen, there's like two types of motions or movements. One is like the social selling, so people that try to be very targeted, try to try to find the right person, the right moment when they're either like they track different types of social signals, comments, conversation, job changes, job role changes, technographics, etc., etc. And there's the other motion which I've seen. I didn't believe it actually existed, but I think a lot of people do it. So people like scrape the whole total addressable market, like hundreds of thousands of companies, and then they send an email. Usually, like smarter people, and so that's building a whole infrastructure to be able to send out emails and all of that, of course. And then usually they send like probably like one email, maybe like a month, so they don't burn because that's the whole total addressable market, right? You don't want to burn your audience,
Yeah.
but they build the infrastructures to be able to send like 20, 50, 100K emails per month or like per week, depending on how big your market is. And then they convert or like by conversion, I mean reply rate probably like 1%, less than 1%, because it's untargeted. And then they still be able to get like um, at least a dozen calls per week. Um, so just enough to feed the SDR salespeople calls. And I was surprised that this method, like this motion, exists because it's to me it sounds very counterintuitive, but a lot of people uh, believe it's one of the ways to do it because you're still able to get some leads, and the approach is like, okay, so we only send one email, so we don't spam them. And then some people like send like every other month, or every month they send like one email to the whole addressable market. I don't know. And yeah, I'd be curious to hear more about your experience about like which of these approaches works better, and which is more effective, or maybe both are effective, just different types of
Yeah.
audiences.
I thank you for the question. I love that. I'm often thinking about these concepts. So at the end of the day, people try to overcomplicate it, but it's CAC to LTV, right? Just like with any other channel. So these strategies need to be evaluated again. How much are you spending and how much are you earning? And then you can do it like maybe you do mass outbound, you get calls, but there's a difference between those calls, because if you don't filter out those people before you even reach out to them, then what if you have a 20% lower close rate, and then the sales cycle is also longer. It might not make sense. So I'll tell you what I actually do. The social selling, I would put it into two different, like social selling. When I hear that, I more so imagine people being like active on social media, engaging with people. Like that's at least my understanding of it. And then the social signals or any other signal platform, like there are so many at this point, like website visitors, intent signals, all of that. Those are what I would say are evergreen campaigns, which you can have completely automated. So this is what I recommend people actually do. So you have a set of signals. It's not going to be that many companies. Some people want their entire outbound motion to be around signals, and that's not possible because you have 200, for example. Like you cannot build a pipeline for the next year based on those 200, right? But you're gonna have 200 in the next 2 months again, and you can have that whole thing automated completely, where you have some AI that does the research, does the messaging, and then sends it out. Or you can have it in another platform. There's multiple different platforms. An AI, the AI gets notifies the sales rep within Slack or within the platform. Then they can go and do like an ABM motion, let's say. So I think these are great. Most companies should just have it in a very automated process, and then it should get pushed to an actual SDR that can have a multi-channel outreach approach. Call them, send a LinkedIn message, cold email them. And it's fine here if you don't use AI as well. Like, it's completely fine. Like, I sometimes wouldn't have it fully automated, but I also wouldn't have it fully manual. Like, for example, the research should just be given to the salespeople, then they can write the message manually. That's fine, right? Now, for the mass outbound, that's a very interesting topic, and I think it is my favorite thing in the world, honestly. Especially if you have a big market. It works so amazingly good if you have a big market. And you said 1% or lower than 1%. I usually get around, and it's really difficult now, we're moving into 2026, but I usually get about 3 to 4% reply rate on those. So that's pretty high, but I'm really good at writing really good messaging. Like you would be surprised if you saw some of the emails that I can send fully automatically. Now the approach here is you get all of the people in your TAM, let's say, but then you want to have a very rigorous process of filtering them out or even putting them in different categories. So I know, for example, my company GTM Revenue, we can provide a couple different types of solutions depending on the company, and it depends on their total addressable market. It depends on the LTV. It depends on, let's say it's those two things, right? Also how easily accessible their market is and stuff like that. But let's say I want to reach out to 100,000 companies. I'll give you an actual example. Some of them I might pitch that I want to do a social signals campaign for them. This would be companies that I research with my AI, and I see that their total addressable market is a couple thousand companies. I'm not gonna pitch, hey, you can do outbound at scale and you can hit your entire total addressable market. But then if my AI sees that I'm targeting a SaaS company that can have hundreds of thousands of possible customers, then I can pitch them another thing, right? So I get the whole list of everybody in my total addressable market, or 20% of it, doesn't matter. Then I filter them. Are they a B2B company? Is this person still at this role? Do they sell to these types of markets? Do they have these technologies? Do they have an SDR? Are they hiring? All of those things. And then based on that, I would automatically filter them to different kinds of campaigns. And then based on the research of each company, I would have completely custom messaging for each person. So this is very complicated to build. Even one prompt, by the way, like the final prompt for our best message, took me like probably over 50 hours to make one prompt. but I'm sending hundreds of thousands of messages without one prompt. So it's really worth it. And the way I think about it is, how would you ideally do it if AI was, forget automation, forget AI, I give you a list of companies, I give you unlimited time, do your absolute best to reach out to those people. You're probably going to have a similar process to me, like the way I automated it. You're going to qualify those people, you're going to research them, you're going to put them in different categories, different segments, send a personalized message, and then you can ask yourself, how do I personalize it? Ideally, well, I want to look for any different signals. Do we have signals? Okay, we don't have signals. Are they hiring? They're not hiring. Do they mention something specific on their website? Yes, they do. Okay, let's write the message. And all of this needs to go in a prompt, needs to go in a system, and then it can scale. I'm very much against the send first line AI personalized message to hundreds of thousands of people, which can work, as you said, but it gets like 3 to 4 times less results. And the most interesting thing, I'll tell you the most interesting thing is that the easiest way to get the trust of a cold audience via outbound is by sending such an amazing message that they're genuinely amazed. And at this point, most of the messages that I get, or I wouldn't say most, but like 30-40% are not like, hey, this is interesting, but are like, whoa, this is really different. Like, we need to talk. And then I get on the call with those people, and the sales cycle is so much easier, right? So you're not only getting more responses, but those people respect you, they want to work with you, they see you as an expert, as an authority figure in the space that you're in. So I would say it's worth investing in like building really good messaging, because it's not only going to get you more top of funnel results, but then you're going to have a way easier time selling to those people.
Right. Do you think it's more the messaging or targeting, or both are equally important?
It depends on what you're selling, honestly. I can give you many examples, but many times I say the list is the message. So
right.
if, and it's not always true, that's what I'm telling you. Sometimes companies can customize their messaging based on the tech stack that the people are using, their team size, team structure, do they have SDRs, which tools they use, etc. Then you can write a really amazing message. You can reach out to companies that are using HubSpot, that are hiring somebody for RevOps, for example, that recently raised money. Then you can write an amazing message, right? But there's still rules. Like, you don't want to mention, hey, you recently raised funding, we should work together. Like, that's a bad message. Like, you just want their money, right? So still you need to know the concepts of messaging, and it really depends on what you're selling. That's why if you're going for the mass outbound, for your total addressable market, I would say just filter the companies, because you're not really like segmenting it too well, but filter out the bad fits and then try to segment them to the best of your ability. Sometimes you might be able to do it, sometimes you might not be able to do it. And in terms of messaging, to answer your question, in terms of messaging or targeting, the targeting, you just need to check it, right? It's like a checkbox, it's good, right? The messaging can be really different depending on what you're selling, do people know you in the market, depending on the targeting that you choose. But I would say forget all of the frameworks, forget what people teach, and remember a couple of things. People are extremely distracted when they read emails. Like you, I'm sure you receive a bunch of emails. Do you sit down and do you read them like a question at let's say you're doing an exam and you go after each word and you really focus? No, like you scroll quickly. So the value needs to be very clear. It needs to be optimized for that. And it needs to be clear that it wasn't specifically written by AI, even if you use AI, right? So optimize people are distracted. The value needs to be very clear. Don't like talk about yourself. And the biggest thing, be different. This is all that marketing copywriting is about. Be different so the mammalian brain can stop the person because it something novel is in front of them, like a pattern disrupt, right? If I see something different, not just, hey Kalo, just following up, just bumping this up. Oh, did you see my message? Like fuck off. Like I receive hundreds of these.
Right. Yeah.
Even if I want what you're selling, I put you in a bad category subconsciously. So just be different. People are distracted. Show your value clearly. This is my framework for messaging.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense for sure.
So let me ask you though, because I'm very curious. You did an Appsumo launch, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Right. Yeah. So for people that don't know, Appsumo is marketplace for lifetime deals. So lifetime deals for software. So you sell your software SaaS business as a very limited time-based lifetime offer. We did the Appsumo launch in 2021, I think, and we were back then, I think, top 5 launches there. And just to give you an idea, there's literally thousands of products on Appsumo. And the rationale at the back of the time was we just didn't have enough revenue, so we needed money. We were completely bootstrapped. We never raised funding, so we desperately needed some money. We were against Appsumo because the perception is generally negative when you sell a recurring software as a lifetime deal. And certainly there's a lot of negative perception because you underprice radically your software in a way. But also there's a lot of positive things. So we generated close to 1 million during our campaign. Now the people that acquired our software are also doing Appsumo launches, and as far as I know, they're doing quite well as well. And yeah, it helped us raise enough money to have runway to grow the recurring business. It also helped us with a bit of word of mouth. There was, I would call it, minor snowball effect after Appsumo. So it helped us with the growth. And I'd say it was probably the best decision we made with Encharge. Running a software in an extremely competitive space, marketing automation, competing with all the big software brands like HubSpot, Salesforce, Marketo, Eloqua, or every enterprise Fortune 5 tech company has some sort of email marketing or marketing automation tool. And yeah, it was pretty good. We sold 4,000 licenses, so that's less than 4,000 people because some people buy multiple licenses, but that's quite a lot. The price point was between, I think, $60 on the lower end and like 300 or 400 or 500 on the higher end. And if I have to give like a few key points for people that want to launch there, my advice would be first, research your space in Appsumo, because Appsumo is a marketplace, like the App Store, the Google Store, all these, like even if you will like Google search, there's many results. So you're not competing only with the recurring products, so Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever, you're also competing with other tools that are on Appsumo. And a lifetime deal buyers, the way they think is they usually have a certain budget, usually per month. So they spend a lot of money on lifetime deals. They collect them like baseball cards. Very often they don't use them, but they have a limited budget, like any other person. And the way they look at that is they try to fill gaps in the software in their tool set. So let's say they have $1,000 per month for lifetime deals, and there's currently 2 or 3 email marketing tools on the marketplace that are live running a deal. They will most likely choose just one of them because what they want to do is they want to fill in the specific, like I need an email marketing tool, so I'm buying a lifetime for email marketing. I need a CRM, I'm buying a lifetime deal for a CRM. And if someone has done like a very like good tool is running at the same time with you, or the previous month they run a deal, or even like 2-3 months before you they run a deal, the chances for you to run a successful deal decrease drastically. And I know that from my personal experience and from other people who've also been on Appsumo. One of the people that I recently spoke, they were competing with Appsumo on Appsumo at the same time with a major, bigger competitor, and they did quite bad compared to the numbers, to our numbers. I mean, they still managed to make some money, but nothing close to what we did. We then charged, there weren't at the time, there weren't any good marketing. There were a lot of email marketing tools, but there weren't any marketing, like advanced marketing automation tools before us. And when we launched, also there weren't any. And that first campaign was very, as you can make only one first impression. It helped us a lot. And now the people that acquired us, they still are very successful because it's a brand, if you will, even maybe not the most positive because it might get associated with a lifetime deal software. But regardless, now if Encharge, if you launch an email tool or marketing automation tool while Encharge is on Appsumo, you won't do very well because we already have the brand there. So yeah, that's the first thing. Make sure that you research the market and know that there's a gap. There might be other tools. If people are complaining from those tools, then feel free to launch. If you have a green light, you'll probably be successful if your tool is better, of course. The other thing is to understand that lifetime dealers are not recurring customers. So you won't be able to upsell them. They're very different from the standard audience. The goal there is not to get some people and then they try to upsell them. The goal is to raise some money, use that audience to generate reviews on G2, Capterra, help you with link building, maybe get some contacts with affiliate marketers because there's a ton of affiliate marketers. So use them as an engine to attract recurring customers, but don't try to upsell them. And the other very important thing is don't prioritize recurring features for recurring customers based on feedback from lifetime viewers, because the way those are two completely different audiences and they have different goals. The goal of the lifetime viewer is to substitute, let's say, HubSpot with the lifetime deal. They save a ton of money by not using HubSpot. However, a recurring customer, they will compare your tool to HubSpot, and maybe HubSpot is a bit more expensive, but your tool is not like 100 times more cheaper. So it's a different thought process and it's a different sales process. So you need to be different compared to HubSpot. However, lifetime viewers, then they don't want you to be different from HubSpot. They want you to work exactly like HubSpot. So they give you features that HubSpot has because they won't use HubSpot. They will use your tool because you're hundreds times cheaper. And what happens is these people will not be the right fit to give you an ideas on how to be different or how to come up with USPs or how to come up with positioning if you're selling to recurring customers. So in your feature board or whatever, like product board or feature base or whatever tool you use for feature requests, make sure to be able to segment, tag the Appsumo feedback, and segment it out from making important product decisions. So these are the three tips I'd give to people that want to go live on Appsumo.
That's a really good breakdown. And what happened after Appsumo? Were you, just because I don't know, were you targeting enterprise customers? Because I know those bigger tools usually have a way bigger market cap there, or were you more so trying to go for those smaller businesses?
Yeah, we were always going for the small businesses, like small to mid. Enterprise, we never managed to get there. With email marketing, that space, it's so our competitors are dinosaurs. I mean, they launched like their products that have been on the market for over 20 years. They have 300, 500,000 people, teams, and the brand space they occupy is huge. So it's very hard to target enterprise customers in such space without funding, without the enterprise product. So we never really went after enterprise. We were targeting small and medium-sized businesses. So that's the ones we only managed to attract. So yeah, and then that's also other thing. Probably if your audience is enterprise, then maybe Appsumo is not a good fit because enterprise generally is harder software, more complex. Appsumo people are less sophisticated. They're like mom and pop shops, solopreneurs, marketing agencies, freelancers, marketers, like a single marketing team, single person marketing team, that type of audience.
And what did your sales funnel look like? Did you jump on calls with these people, or was it like a self-serve platform?
For Appsumo?
No, for
Yeah, for the recurring.
outbound. Yeah.
Yeah. So unit economics wise, we were supposed to be a self-serve business because our average revenue per user was 250 per month. So that's like 1,200 a year or something, like a bit above that, like 2,000 per year. And however, again, because it's a very competitive space, and the way competitors, like again, very well funded competitors like HubSpot and these guys, they have the unit economics to do sales calls with whoever, like even small people, small businesses, micro businesses. We were kind of forced to also do that. One thing. The other thing is just our software is generally more complex. So we did have a self-serve motion. We had a lot of customers that never got on calls with us, but we found that the people that we get on a call with, usually the ones that stay longer, easier, like better onboarded, understand the tool better. So it was a hybrid motion. There was self-serve, but also sales assisted motion. So you can sign up for a free 14-day trial. You can book a call anytime you want. Customer success person does the sales calls, or more like onboarding calls, because we haven't done much sales traditional in the traditional terms of like following very aggressively, like putting up mutual agreement plans, trying to identify the decision makers, chase them on LinkedIn. In retrospect, I would probably do that. I think there was some room for growth there, but on the other hand, as I said, just unit economics, the prices didn't allow for something like that.
And then my next question would be, do you see motions like that being done by AI SDRs in the future? Because the unit economics don't make sense for a person.
Yeah.
Is AI good enough, do you think, in the future?
Yeah, I think it's improving. I've been looking at tools that do and that was one of my ideas actually here for a tool that does onboarding, like product demos, AI that does product demos. And it's increasingly getting better. And I think even the funny thing is that I've seen like very high COTV tools that implement those. And I think the rationale is that because they are like sales driven, you need to get on a call with them. And not all people want to get on a call with them. At some point, they were like, okay, so maybe we're missing a lot of leads, either because of time zone differences or just someone is shy, they don't want to talk to you. And I've seen like Chili Piper was one company that was I think they're quite probably not enterprise but mid-level, and I see they rolled out similar like AI product demo, and you can get the product demo like the AI to do the product demo live on the website for you. So honestly, I don't know where it will go. I think I would personally probably not yet rely on for especially for high COTV businesses on AI. But some people, like some companies, are doing it. They're making the leap, and I think it's more right now with AI tools. Everyone is experimenting, so I'm not sure. Like probably if I ask them, they will be we're testing it out. Um, so I don't think there's a definite answer. Personally, for my own software, I would prefer to talk to the like I would do like chat, for example, like like AI chat, yes, like AI support, yes. 100% AI driven sales where someone sells to the person. I'm skeptical. I would probably not use it myself. However, I'm open to trying it out. I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm open to trying it out and just see what works. I spoke to one person this week who's using AI for social content, generate LinkedIn content, and that was most interesting, like funny answer that I got from him was like, I don't like the content that AI produces. It doesn't sound like 100% like me. However, it's able to generate more leads than me, than my own content, which is I would never guess that. If you tell me, I'll probably never believe it. But there we go. Someone told me that this week, and he was like, I swallowed my ego and I just let AI do the content for me. Yes, there was some voice training and all of that. It's not like completely, unauthentic, random AI um, garbage, but still is AI generated. So yeah, I honestly I try not to predict things. I am more interested in observing things and just testing out things. But what's your take on AI SDRs?
Well, there is AI features, and then there is like AI agents that do the whole thing.
Right.
If we talk about, because we did mention social signals, and I said fully automated campaigns, there is a difference because I've also built like actual AI agents and I built automations. Most people confuse the both. There is a difference between an agent and an automation, and I think
Right.
automations should be done with very strong guardrails. That's what I do for outbound basically. There is lots of AI, but it has very strict guardrails, and the AI agent is not selecting different tools to use. No, it's categorizing people into certain directions, and then you have a workflow of different automations, research steps, uh, messaging, writing of the messaging, then downloading a CSV, pushing it to a campaign, starting the campaign, that sort of thing. That I'm a huge believer in, and I think people should already be doing it. Now, fully autonomous AI agents like 11x, what was the other one? There's AI SDR. There was one that reached out to me recently, trying to sell me the same service that I sell. Like, I think that's a, you know, That's a good case study. I was actually going to record a video about it because I thought it's like, hey, Alexander, we saw you do outbound. Do you want to do outbound with our tool? Well, not really, right? And it went to spam as well. So those people, I don't know how qualified they are to make those not voice agents, AI SDRs that do the initial outreach. Let's assume they are. I still wouldn't trust it at this point. Does it work? Like, I don't think so. Like, why wouldn't you just have one person, like the whole GTM engineering thing? Maybe you've heard about it. Have you?
Yeah, I have.
So just have one person with the right tools, like myself, somebody else, doesn't matter. Have that one person make AI campaigns for outbound. You're gonna get way better results than these AI SDRs. Then we have voice agents for inbound calls. I think that could work in like if it's a SaaS tool that services thousands of people and it's very cheap, like $10 a month. I see that use case.
B2C especially.
Yeah, B2C as well. E-commerce, like I want to check my order. That's gonna work, right? Another very strong use case that I see is AI features. So that's the software that I've been talking to you about that I'm building. It has AI features and it's still human in the loop. So for example, I know that I need to follow up with people after I get the initial lead. However, I use a bunch of softwares. I've been on many sales calls where people are selling to me because I want to buy stuff, right? Or services. Why does nobody follow up, for example? So I saw that issue, and people use HubSpot. They get the reminder within the tool that they need to follow up, but then they don't really do it the right way, or they just postpone it. It never happens. So an AI feature in my platform, for example, is helping you write messaging that is aligned with the context, with the conversation that you've been having so far. It also has some other features around making sure that you actually do it, scheduling it for you, etc. That's a really strong feature, and it's not an AI agent. It just helps the human do their job, and it's human in the loop. Because I think especially bigger companies, like you can deploy that. Let's say it's a fully agentic inbox management. Some people are building that. How many deals are you gonna lose? You might it's not worth the risk. They're never going to implement it. So if people are building that, maybe it makes sense for the lazy person to use it. But if you're a big company, or you're trying to be a big company, you want you as a human to only be focusing on high leverage work. You shouldn't be doing any research. You shouldn't be going through notes that you took on a piece of paper like I am right now during the podcast. But this is a podcast, right? It's not a sales call. It should be there in your face. You should not be able to avoid it, and you should just approve the messaging, for example, and then you can send it or you can edit it. So only focusing on high leverage work, you can always be following the best practices. You can be way more efficient, be handling more deals, and then the company doesn't need 10 account executives. It needs the best 3 ones, let's say, that are enabled by technology. Same thing in outreach. I'm sure the same thing in content creation, same thing in customer success, same thing in support. So this is how I think the future is going to be. It's not some autonomous agent doing everything, unless, like we said, it's some B2C use case where it genuinely makes sense to do something like that. If we're talking about SaaS, and I think most people watching this are going to be in the B2B space, that's how I see things.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it would be very interesting to see what happens with the AI agents. But yeah, I totally agree. Most people don't understand the difference, and I think marketers are guilty of that because there's all the LinkedIn lead farming selling agents, which is just a NA10 template. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with the NA10 template. As you said, there's a lot of productivity and ROI and money saving that can come out of it, but it's not an agent. It's just steps with processes. It's different than an agent. But to be frank, if I am to sell SaaS or service or whatever, I might also be tempted to use that because it's just the hype. Uh, it's just so much hype going on around like agents and then people making millions of revenue in to 20 minutes. I think everything's like every single day. It's like the
It's crazy.
statements are just more, this the bolder and bigger, and the claims are getting crazier. And that's maybe what you have to do to keep up with the market, or maybe you just build something that's so valuable that you don't need to use any help, hype, and people buy it. Yeah, it's
And
tough.
most of those are not even agents, by the way. They don't fit the definition of an agent. It's a automation workflow, and it's built by some guy who has no experience. Like, how can a guy with no experience in doing the thing without AI teach AI how to do it? Because, as we said about vibe coding, you need to know what you're doing, right? In sales,
Right.
you need to know what marketing, content creation. Like the guy that you mentioned, he knows how to write good content. I'm sure he prompted the AI in a really good way. He did the voice training on it and he got some great results. What if it was a complete beginner that doesn't know what to say? So all of those, that's my main point. All of those AI agents just need to be made by a person who both really understands the topic at hand and also understands how to teach AI.
All right.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
let me ask you this because we are running short on time. What is Kalo doing now?
Yeah, good question. So I'm validating a few different ideas. Not going to share anything right now because the one idea that I had, I kind of invalidated. But people can follow me on my personal website, kalo.me. I have a building public blog, or they can also find me on LinkedIn. We'll share the links where I'm yeah, sharing my experience right now with my journey on building my second, or I don't know, third or fourth SaaS business. So yeah, would be great if they follow me there, and we can
Yeah,
exchange
it's gonna
build.
be in the comments. And last question to you: what's the number one most useful advice if, let's say, you go to Mars tomorrow and you have to leave one piece of advice for the people that are scaling a SaaS company at the moment? What would you say as somebody who's had two successful exits, has made lots of money in the space? What would be your number one advice?
Yeah, number one advice for scaling. It's hard to really give one specific. That is also not too trivial. Um, but I mean, I'd say is take any advice with a grain of salt, because every person has their own reference experience. And usually you see people, someone who has done successfully like me on Appsumo, and then you go on Appsumo and then you suck there, and then your reputation is broken because you're selling lifetimes and then all of that. So every advice you get is usually based on a reference experience, but that doesn't mean that that reference experience will translate to you. So yeah, just collect advice, but test it out on a small scale, and don't get too overhyped before you see before you see how it works for you.
Yeah.
That would be my one single thing. So that applies to any like frameworks, systems, channels, mediums, pretty much anything.
So don't invest too much energy, money, etc. into it, and get the real KPIs by testing it on a small scale.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Makes lots of sense. Well, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You can find all of his links below, and have fun scaling your SaaS company.
See you. Thanks for having me.